checks and balances in place.
Okay. I'm going to film you now.
Okay. Okay.
Well,
let's
go.
It's
quite strange.
This is a public place, isn't it?
It's
Sure.
a public place.
It's a public
Need
place.
people's permission to film.
Yeah.
No, you don't.
Yes.
Not in a public place.
I'd personally prefer if I wasn't.
Not in a public place.
What would you like me to say? What are you
Well,
trying to achieve right now?
I'm trying to make a record of what you're saying. Okay, carry on.
No, I think we can continue this discussion outside with the developer. Okay, I don't think the way that you're behaving is particularly kind or well mannered. I understand there's a lot of feeling and emotion and that's acceptable and understood. But I don't think this is.
What's
I don't think this
what's
is.
your position about this
I
diagram
don't think this
here?
is a particularly productive way to conduct this. So. If we can step outside. I'm more than happy for you to film me outside.
No, I don't want to step outside.
I just don't want to dominate this room with this discussion.
I've come to look at your display and listen to what you've got to say.
Yeah.
Anybody else want to say anything?
Well, look, we've got plenty of materials here for you to read.
Yeah,
Please,
you take as much
please do that.
film of the
Yeah.
information that's here. Please read what we've put out there in good faith, and if you've got questions, we'll do our best to answer them.
All right. I've got a question for you then. So in that leaflet which you sent out,
Yes.
what you said was that who's in charge here?
Well, we're managing the planning side.
So who's the senior person
Developers.
here?
The
Well,
developer
I'm
here
the
is
head of planning at Boom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so you have put in your prospectus that you've delivered to everybody that this helps with the Redditch energy
The climate
crisis.
yeah.
So can you explain that?
So the Redditch declared a climate emergency, along with lots of other local authorities,
Yes.
which recognises the potential impacts that climate change will have on this country.
Yes.
And renewable schemes and energy storage schemes like this are being proposed and suggested by developers and supported by government and local authorities all over the country to help try
So
and reduce
have you read the documentation from Redditch
Yeah,
about their
absolutely.
climate
The
emergency?
planning application that we submit will be fully in accord with
Have
that
you,
document.
can, you, can you answer that question?
Have I read it
Have you
myself?
read the document?
No, I haven't. No.
Well, I suggest you read it because it's got nothing about this in it.
Sure, but it might not have anything
And-
about this
and-
specific development.
And the point of that diagram, that document, it's about the energy initiatives for Redditch Council. It's not a policy document to include strategy for the county. It's for the council estate, not to do with that. So you're misquoting the Redditch.
No, misquoting at all.
You are misquoting it. It's not in there. This
Okay.
sort of thing. It's not in there.
Okay.
So why haven't you read it?
Me personally, because I've
You're
worked on
head
a
of
lot
planning
yeah,
at
I work on a
Boom.
lot of projects all over the UK. My colleagues Nick here, who's writing our planning application, and will have read that, and it will all be presented in our planning application. In
Well,
due course.
you've sent out a document to the whole village saying that the Redditch climate crisis is involved in all this stuff.
So
It's
what,
not.
what does it say?
Well, why don't you go and read it?
No, so Redditch have declared
Mr. Beddoe.
Redditch have declared a climate emergency.
What that document
Yeah.
shows is that it's a specific document for the council estate, for instance, their fleet of vehicles. And what it's doing is it's trying to make that green. They've got a plan, they've got a forecast plan until 2040, and they've got initiatives already accounted for that are going to achieve.
It's purely related to their own emissions.
Yes,
Okay.
it's got nothing to do with
is that
yours.
not to address the climate emergency that they've declared as a council?
Yeah.
So they have their own plan to address it?
They have a plan for their council estate.
Yeah, for their council estate and their emissions.
But it's not got all this stuff in it. And don't pretend it has, because it hasn't.
I'm not saying that.
You need to go and read it.
No, I'm not saying that.
You're being quite
Yeah.
accusatory and
Yeah.
assuming that we're all idiots. You're assuming
That's
that we're
why
all
you said go
idiots.
read
You know,
You haven't read it, and you've just circulated
What does
the
that
whole...
matter? What does that matter?
Because you're putting a planning application in.
Yes, and our planning application
And
will
you're
be
claiming
Yes.
that it's in,
And look,
in
what you're doing
in
here is you're
accordance
trying
with
to get
it.
a response out of me, and you're filming me.
Yeah, this is going on YouTube
Well,
now.
brilliant. Like, What are you trying to achieve out of this? Because this
Because
doesn't
I'm
achieve anything.
I'm coming in here and
This
showing.
doesn't achieve. No, you're coming in here and making yourself look silly. This doesn't achieve anything.
Okay, regardless of what the climate crisis declaration states, you know, the council are going to be the ones that determine whether or not this application helps towards meeting that target.
Yeah, I think.
You know, it's for the council as decision maker in the planning application to
Say
make
that again.
assessment.
The council will
The
be
council
determining
as
what?
the decision maker to decide whether or not schemes like this contribute to addressing the climate crisis that they've declared.
Yeah, the climate emergency is something, it's a material consideration in the planning application. Ultimately, what we have to demonstrate is that our proposals are compliant with planning policy. And it's really as simple as
So what planning issue are you arguing to get your planning application through that breaks the Greenbelt policy, which is national policy and local
The very
policy?
circumstance argument that we'd be making is that it supports climate change and energy
How does it do
security
that?
initiatives.
because it allows for increased power from renewable energy generators to be stored and subsequently discharged onto the grid, so it matches supply to demand.
So
Yeah. So when solar is generating and excess power
yes,
from wind
I know
turbines, that
all
can be put on
that.
the grid. Yeah.
So
So that's how it.
but
Yeah,
the
so-
country's already got enough of these in the pipeline and already built.
well, then
So
rest
what-
assured, the planning process will manage that.
Well, so you're gonna tell the planners that the country's already got enough of these.
I don't think that is the attitude that the planning system has taken. Otherwise, the National Planning Policy Framework, the key planning document at the national scale.
So can you concentrate on what I was actually saying there? This country has now got enough built BESS facilities.
at the national scale.
So can you concentrate on what I was actually saying there? This country has now got enough built BESS facilities,
Okay.
plus those that have already got planning permission to satisfy net zero
Where are you
by
getting those
2050.
Yeah, because
Where are you getting those statistics from? Because there's still an industry here.
No. Where do you think I'm getting them from?
I don't know. Please tell me.
Well, do you know the source
Well, what I
where
would
you can
say-
look that
I
up?
know that I work in an industry where these types of development are supported by government.
You clearly don't know. There's a national database
Sure.
with all that information on,
Yeah.
and we have looked at it and documented it. There are also published articles on the internet
So
saying
if that's
that.
your position, that you don't think
It's
any
not
more
my
of these
it's not my position. It is government fact.
So that's fine then. So this,
So how-
if this scheme is not needed, then
It's not needed.
Okay.
It's not needed on a national basis. Therefore, there is no credible argument against to justify breaking Greenbelt policy.
I think we obviously will disagree on that, and the planning process allows you to make representations to that effect. So if that's what you think, I suggest you put an application, or put comments in when the application goes in, and you say that you don't think this is
Yeah,
needed.
but
National planning policy is informed by evidence-based. You know, it's a whole
we have
process.
the
to
we
develop
have
that.
the evidence, and you clearly
then-
haven't looked at it, have you?
Well, then, we do not look at every single item of evidence that goes into the national planning policy framework. It's just not the
Frankly,
case.
Boom sounds a complete joke here. It hasn't
Boom
looked.
seems to be a small organisation.
It hasn't. It hasn't.
So all I'm saying is I would encourage you to make those representations,
Oh, we will
and they
make
will
those
be
re-
taken into account appropriately.
Is Boom a British company?
Yes?
All right.
What nationality are the
what does that have? What relevance does
So-
that have? What relevance does that have?
what nationality are the directors?
British. What relevance does that
Aren't they
have?
all British?
Our founding
How,
director
how much
is
money
British.
has Boone got?
In the bank right now? What relevance
plus
does
or
that have
minus?
to discussions we're having right now?
Well, I've looked up my company accounts this morning, and this is a very small company. It has no credibility in the national scheme of things. No credibility.
We're here to talk about the planning application and our proposed development.
Well, how can you expect this village to take seriously a planning application from a company that's only got £1 million in the bank? Assets of £1 million.
And the turnover?
Well,
something like
this-
three-
I don't see how that's we've got enough. I don't see how that's relevant at all to the
It's
discussion we're having.
highly relevant because you can't carry your plans through.
Yes.
Well, then,
Yes, you're
well,
right.
then
You're
you've
right.
got
At the
nothing to worry
moment,
about, have you?
no. You've got no. Yeah. No.
If
but,
you think that, you've got nothing to worry about.
you'll understand.
You've got something to worry about, mate. You haven't got any
You'll
money.
understand, won't you? That the way that these schemes are built out is because there are pension funds and hedge funds all over the world that want to invest in developments of this type.
You've clearly got no idea about the economics of these schemes.
But we can talk about my understanding. I just don't really understand how this is relevant.
You don't know about the national database of projects.
No, I've asked you to tell me about that.
It's just like,
I've asked you to tell me what national database it is.
I'm going to call it a day now. Thank you for your comments. Would you like to repeat what you just said?
You said it's entirely childish.
No, I said it's incredibly childish. Yes.
I'm sorry, I misheard.
Incredibly childish. And this is Boom, who's coming to our village and telling the residents that they're incredibly childish.
We're here to talk about the project, aren't we?
Yeah.
You know, we're individual people at the end of the day that probably don't want to be filmed. You know, we're private people. We're here to talk about the project, though. So if you want to talk about the project,
came here. This is a public place.
Yes,
I'm entitled to film you.
I'm happy to film you while we're talking about the development, but you're asking questions which are not relevant.
I think they're highly relevant. The questions I've told you a lot of things.
Have fun. You're having a great time today.
Can you tell me where is your...
There's the walk of shame. He's walking off. He's walking off. Walk of shame.
There's no
Boom.
shame here.
no, in the wider,
Where are they?
no, on the wider grid network.